Thank you. Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be with you all again. And thank you for the warm welcome. You know, I had a joke ready to go because I was expecting it to be so hot today. I was going to say that you've gotten so good at giving warm welcomes that you're now giving hot welcomes. But it's not that hot, and my partner John said that was a really lame joke, so we'll just keep it at a thank you for a warm and comfortable welcome. When I was here in December, the monthly topic was peace. And I spoke about how peace is something that needs to be actively created. And I shared some ideas on how to do that, particularly around performing peace in our lives. And I found our topic this month, intuition, a really interesting challenge, because unlike peace, which to me was a pretty straightforward topic, intuition seems really hard to grasp. Many of us may be able to describe our own experience of intuition, if we've had one, and yet find it hard to define exactly what it is or have a common definition of it. So what is intuition? Well, definitions run the gamut, as you can imagine. For example, the Merriam-Webster dictionary says, intuition is a natural ability or power that makes it possible to know something without any proof or evidence, or a feeling that guides a person to act a certain way without fully understanding why. Now, researchers at Leeds University in England studied this supposed natural feeling that guides us and concluded that intuition is actually, and I quote, the brain drawing on past experiences and external cues to make a decision, but one that happens so fast that the reaction is at a non-conscious level, and all we're aware of is a general feeling that something is right or wrong. So, to these researchers, intuition is a super-fast subconscious phenomenon. There's no mystery about it. And then Gary Zukov, in his book, The Seat of the Soul, reintroduces a little mystery, saying intuition is perception beyond the physical senses that's meant to assist you. So now we're moving from a subconscious phenomenon to more of an extrasensory one, which Ernest Holmes then picks up and runs down the rest of the field with, saying that God is in us, revealing to us the realities of being. Intuition is God in us, revealing to us the realities of being. So now intuition isn't just a super fast subconscious decision maker or a mystical extrasensory helper, it's God revealing and teaching us stuff. Wow! Now that's quite a range of definitions. And you can find even more online and anecdotes and research that back up practically every perspective. And maybe it's not just one or the other, but all of them. It's sort of like defining left or right. You know, they're the same thing, it just depends on your relationship to it. So just to add to the fun, I'd like to share my relationship to intuition, which is a lot like Dr. Holmes' definition of it. To me, intuition, or an aspect of intuition, is God in us, reminding us of who we really are. God in us reminding us of who we really are. To me, intuition is that proverbial still, small voice that's trying to help us remember where we came from, who we are, why we're here, and where we're going. Now, I've come to that perspective through my own theology, which is that I believe, or I feel, without any proof or evidence or fully understanding why, but I feel deeply that we all existed before in another existence, that we all sort of had a manifestation in another way when we were all spirit. And we're still spirit now, or as Pierre Teilhard de Chardin says, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Or as RuPaul says, we're God in drag. Love RuPaul, love it. But we're all here now having this human experience to do some sort of spiritual growing, you know, to learn about love and compassion or to find forgiveness or even to repay a debt. And then when we've hopefully learned what we've come to learn, we shed our physical selves, and our essential selves return from whence we came to spirit. Now, it's not an airtight theology. What is? But sometimes I think, but what if we die before, we learn what we've come to learn? Or what kind of God teaches through the horrors of poverty and illness and war? I don't know, but there is something to that that's sort of real for me. And what happens after we return to spirit, that I don't know either. Some people swear by reincarnation, but I choose not to because one life is enough for me, thank you. It's beautiful, but it can be hard. Life can be hard, and I find life is often the hardest when I'm not listening to my intuition, to that deep feeling that's reminding me that there was a before, that there's a now for a reason, and that there's an after, that there's more to this experience, this school. I need help remembering that. So enter intuition. Madison Taylor shares on her website, The Daily Ohm, remembering that we are spiritual beings is part of the work that we're here on earth to do. When we operate from a place of remembering, we tap into the wisdom that our spirit accumulated even before we stepped into this lifetime. Remembering who we are can give us the patience to persevere when we become overwhelmed or frustrated. Hello. It can give us the courage to work through the most daunting challenges. Hello again. And help us to trust the ancient wisdom we carry that is offered to us by our intuition, unquote. And to me, that ancient wisdom is in the echo we hear across time. It's in that voice or that feeling within that's working to bypass our fickle emotional states. It's working to out-trick our tricky egos. It's working to remind us of deeper eternal truths that can reorient us towards our true selves so that we can stay here on a spiritually growthful path. For example, in that moment before we share a piece of gossip, you may hear a voice say, "Do you need to share that? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true?" Or in that moment before we're about to criticize someone for being so judgmental, you may feel a tug on your heart that says, "Hold on, now, don't you realize that you're about to be judgmental also?" Or in that moment before we're about to win an argument, you may feel a feeling in your gut that says, "Pause. Is this fight worth it? Why not trying to ask for forgiveness instead?" Or in that moment, like it happened for me years ago, on a desperate night when I was holding a kitchen knife to my wrist, and I heard a voice say, "Stop. It's not time. There are better days ahead, and you have much more to learn." Or, years later, I heard the same gentle urgings from the same voice and the same feeling, promising me that I wouldn't be abandoned, that I'd still be loved if I came out as gay. Our remembering is in that voice, that loving, encouraging feeling, not those that we often listen to instead that says, "Gossip's fun, do it." Or, "He's judgmental, not you." Or, "She's wrong, you're right." Or, "Who cares? You're not lovable anyway." Or, "You're not worth it. You're broken. You're lost. You're helpless. You're hopeless. You're too old. You're too young. You're too fat. You're too thin. You're too conservative. You're too liberal. You're too successful. Or you're not successful enough and you'll never be, and blah, 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 blah." That voice is all an illusion. The still, small voice, the true voice, says, "You are pure light. You are pure love. You are enough. In fact, you are meant to be exactly as you are. You're beautiful. You're glorious. You're eternal. You're nothing less than God itself. Hear me, that voice cries. Don't listen to all that false negative crap about you. Listen to me and remember who you really are, my beloved. Now, when I listen to that voice, my intuitive voice, I feel much better. I treat people better. I imagine we all do. So why don't we listen to it? Why don't we hear it all the time? Well, maybe because it is a still, small voice. God didn't talk to Elijah in 1 Kings through the ripping wind or the earthquake or the blazing fire. God spoke in a still, small voice instead. But we fill our lives with the ripping winds of social media and entertainment and information overload, and with the earthquake of political turmoil and confusing news and relentless technology, and with the blazing fires of work deadlines and social obligations and all kinds of distractions. So the still small voice that's trying to help us remember gets drowned out. Our culture is terrible at supporting the quiet, the patience, the gentleness, the downtime we need to be able to listen and hear our intuition and what it's trying to tell us. Now, some of you may be asking, well, why does the voice of intuition have to be so still and small? Why can't it be big and loud? And I need a freaking billboard, lights and air horns and Well, because who really wants God or anyone shouting at us all the time, telling us what to do? I mean, how would we learn anything then? It's like kids whose parents are always telling them what to do often either rebel or don't become self-sufficient adults because they never had to make a decision for themselves. So for us to hear that still small voice, to get to the place where we can decide to follow our intuition's guidance or not, we have to let go of a lot of the noise, of the illusions and the attachments and the cravings to what we think is important in this life. We have to grow into that place. That's part of our spiritual journey. That's what we're here to do. And maybe you're saying, well, I've tried and I just don't hear my intuition or feel it, still and small or big and loud. I never did. I don't think I ever will. All right, I hear you. So let me offer you an alternative to intuition. Extuition. I'm just making this up. Okay. Extuition. Instead of God in us, reminding us of who we really are, try God in others, reminding us of who we really are. See if you can open yourself to that. Because, listen, the intuitive voice that's in all of us is not just ours. It's a common voice. We're all connected and we share the same voice. The philosopher William James said it this way: we're like islands in the sea or like trees in the forest. The maple and the pine may whisper to each other with their leaves, and the islands may hear each other's foghorns. But the trees also commingle their roots in the darkness underground, and the islands also hang together through the ocean's bottom. And just so, there is a continuum of cosmic consciousness into which our several minds plunge as into a mother sea or reservoir, unquote. We all share a cosmic consciousness, a Christ consciousness, a universal mind, a Buddha mind, the Atman, the Holy Spirit, our higher selves, the great I am, or the great we are. To me, these are all the same, and they all have the same voice. And if we're all connected, if we're all spirit, and someone is intuitively prompted to extuitively remind you of how amazing you are, listen to them. They're speaking with the same voice that speaks within you. God loves us so much and wants us to know that she will speak to us any way we're open to it. So if you're not just buying this intuition thing, fine. Just at least listen to those who care about you. Listen to the birds singing to you. Listen to the rivers, the oceans. Listen to the stars showering you with glittering reminders that you and they and God and we are all made of the same wonderful eternal stuff. But regardless, if you're listening to your intuition or extuition, you do have to listen. And for me, that means making the time to slow down, to stop, to be quiet, to breathe. And I'm not even just talking about meditation. I mean really just stopping and being quiet, in quiet if possible, and breathing. That alone is enough of an ask for most of us. I mean, look, Blaise Pascal said back in the 1600s, all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Right? I agree, we agree. And nowadays, if we're in a room alone, we're usually on a device. So just putting the device down, closing the laptop, shutting off the TV, that is enough of a spiritual practice right there. So just start with that. And then if you're able to find some time for quiet and solitude, try not to get caught up in your thoughts, but just listen to the quiet instead. We can't know our true and infinite nature through thought, writes Reverend Revancy Collier. In fact, our fixation with thoughts obscures us from this knowing, this timeless wisdom. The body holds this intelligence, this memory, deep in its cellular structure, as if the body itself remembers from whence it comes, the stardust out of which it is made. Unquote. So try to stop the distractions, get quiet, don't get caught up in your thoughts, and you may just hear or feel, really, a gentle and expansive awareness, a remembrance, perhaps, of something complete and loving, encouraging you to be better to yourself, to be better to others, to keep going, to keep growing. And if you feel that something, and if it feels peaceful and compassionate, and not just about you, but about you in relationship to others, then you can trust it. Author Dennis Merritt Jones says, "Guidance from that which is infinite love can only be for the highest good, not just for ourselves, but for every other person involved. Divine guidance harms no one and helps everyone. So you can trust and follow the promptings of that still, small voice of love." Listening to my intuition has helped me stay here on this earth. It's helped me open to the fullness of love. It's helped me to slow down in those moments where I may have hurt others instead of helped others. It's never seemed to help me win the lotto, but it has helped me win something much more valuable, priceless, the memory of who I really am. God is in us and wants to remind us of who we really are, loving and eternal spirit. So just listen. And so it is.